So if you leave Laramie, Wyoming, and head west, just before you get to the snowy range and head up that big mountain there, is the town of Centennial. Cute little place. There is Mark Armstrong, who is sitting by waiting to talk to us. And Mark Armstrong is someone who's decided when Senator Enzi steps down from his seat, he's going to try to fill that seat. So, Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Glenn, and I'd like to start by thanking you for this time and letting the people of the state of Wyoming know that I'm applying for a job to work for them.
Now, and that's an important distinction, to work for them. But for those people who don't know who you are or where you're from, let's start with, where were you born?
I was born in Laramie.
Oh, okay. So you're not far from home then, moving up to Centennial.
Yes, and my great-grandfather was the first coach of the University of Wyoming.
Oh, really?
Corbett.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's some history I'm going to have to give to our sports guy, Dave Settle there in Laramie. He's going to be interested in that. Okay. So now your history, having grown up, did you grow up there in Laramie and always lived in Wyoming?
No, my father was also a geologist, so we ended up in Denver working when my father worked for Phillips Petroleum there. And I'm a geologist also.
Okay.
And but I've always had roots here. My grandfather built a cabin in 1922, which I am now living in, and it's always been home.
Okay.
Always.
So,
been here every summer, fished and hunted.
So now that you have decided, since Senator Enzi has decided to step down, what makes you look toward that Senate seat and decide that you need to apply for that job?
Well, I think we need something other than lawyers in Washington, D.C., and I think we need some common sense brought from Wyoming to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And
a political background for you besides running for a Senate seat? Have you held any other offices before?
I have. I've been a city councilman, and I kept a private prison, from being built 400 feet from the front door of an elementary school.
Okay.
Also wrote an ordinance that required the staff, the public works staff, to properly repair and do road work, or they would be no longer working for the city. And that brought out quite a crowd.
Okay.
And so, I've also worked for the state of Wyoming at DEQ, and I've also done 35 years of interacting with government agencies, from EPA to DTSC and Regional Water Quality Control Boards and DEQs. And so I've interacted with the government most of my career.
Okay. So which party will you be running with?
I'll be on the Republican Party.
Okay.
I've been a Republican all my life. It's deep in my blood. I am the great-great-great-grandnephew of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
Augustus Corbett's sister married Abraham Lincoln's father.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's how the line goes.
So if you were to get into this Senate seat, then I would assume that you go there with certain goals in mind, and keep in mind there's a lot of gridlock in Washington, D.C. A lot of people grab a seat like that thinking, I'm going to get all of these great things done. Then they find out why it's impossible to get anything done in Washington, D.C. So first off, what do you hope to accomplish in that Senate seat? What would your goals be?
Well, there's some hopes, and these are just hopes, that we can stop having riders on bills, so that a bill has to be passed on its merit, not because it's attached to another bill. That, why the legislature in Wyoming has that already, and it would be nice that a bill passes on its merit. And then, we should look at reforming government accounting, where if you spend all your money, you get that money again. If you're frugal and wise about spending and save some for your department, you then next year your budget gets cut. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, where people who do a good job and are frugal with the people's money have their budget cut because they don't spend it all. Well, while the people who waste money and spend every dime they're given on whatever have their budgets fully funded. And so that's part of government accounting, and I think that needs to change.
I'm talking with Mark Armstrong. He's in Centennial, Wyoming, running for the U.S. Senate for the state of Wyoming. So, okay, let's take a look at how Washington, D.C. currently works between, not just the two parties, but the bureaucracy as well. And what you have there is basically just a large mess where not a whole lot gets done. So that's something Senator Enzi has spent a lot of time trying to untangle unsuccessfully. Same thing with Senator Barrasso and our other representatives. So unsuccessfully so far in getting rid of government gridlock.
Understand that. And it's a hard task. We have to get a coalition of Ted Cruz and Paul and Barrasso and the honorable people in the Senate and push forward. I think the opportunity that we have with President Trump is huge. This is something that, we can move forward on this. We need to, we also need to defund some things and look hard at what is in the best interest of the people.
So for those people who don't know, and I'm actually going to say most of the state, you have a lot of work to do. So it's probably a good idea that you're getting started early. But in order to get name recognition out there, for example, Cynthia Lummis is running. That's pretty big name recognition. That means you're going to have to put a lot of miles on, probably go through a set of tires.
Or a couple cars.
Yeah. Have you begun the tour around the state?
I have not. I've talked to the Lovell paper, and they have agreed to run an article as soon as I come up to Bighorn County. And I'll be there, and I'll be in Cheyenne, and I'll be in Gillette. And I'll be in Sheridan. I've lived in basically every big city in Wyoming, and then I've lived in places like Dixon, Wyoming. So I have friends that I plan on visiting and seeing, and hopefully talking to the Rotary clubs and other people, and making a tour. And I'll be in Casper, and hopefully you'll give me a little more time.
Yeah, swing on by when you're in Casper. I'd like to talk to you then. Well, that brings up the other part of this, which I always cringe when I have to think about this. But, Mark, we got to think about this. You're going to have to raise a lot of money just to get the nomination from the Republican Party.
I understand that. I've spent $1 so far.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I will be frugal with I'm going to I have a PayPal account set up, and I'll be, doing the GoFundMe stuff, but and I can't compete with somebody that's maybe worth $20 to $70 million and has $130,000 in a campaign fund by wasting money.
Right.
I can compete with the honorable Cynthia Lummis by being frugal and making sure every penny I spend is well spent.
Okay. Do you have a website up yet? Social media?
No, but I will have.
Okay.
I'm gonna just like Hickenlooper did yesterday. I'm gonna switch my Facebook page to Mark Armstrong for U.S. Senate.
Okay.
And I'll also probably have a web page.
All right.
But I understand I have to get my name out.
Oh yeah. That's the big thing is name recognition. Is going to be, I think, the toughest battle if you're starting in a position where nobody's heard the name yet against some big-name people. Yeah, that's kind of, like you said, not just to a set of tires, but probably a couple of cars going around the state getting people to recognize the name.
Absolutely. And I'll be at the University of Wyoming football game,
Mm-hmm.
handing out cards, giving people a little information about me, and I have some friends that'll help me with that. And I have people that we joke saying she's my campaign manager. And she'll keep me on the straight and narrow, making sure I get out there and glad hand and shake hands and make sure that people know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Make people understand I'm a stand-up guy, and I want to help fix this country, get us back to where we need to be, and put an end to this idea that we're going to become a socialist country.
Okay.
It just doesn't work.
So
Capitalism. We should also talk about climate change and the medical mess we're in, the medical care mess we're in. It's government intrusion into capitalism is not a good idea.
Okay. So, here again, as you head to Washington, D.C., you understand even the Republican Party keeps growing the size of government. So even though they say they don't have socialist tendencies, they keep growing the size of government. So how do you fight even your own party?
You got 5 people in the Senate that control the bills that get on the House. And I'll be an active voice, a very, very active voice, to make sure that we start doing things like defunding Planned Parenthood. We gave them $1.5 billion. And then they gave $5 million to the Democrats, or maybe more than that. I'm not really sure. But that is silly for the Republican Party to fund the Democrat Party in that way. We need to make sure that the grant system doesn't just grant money to get an answer that they want. If we had an idea of what the beetle kill, one of the largest epidemics in history, is doing to the climate, instead of going after coal and after oil and gas, it's just a political play on the climate end and it hurts our economy, hurts the Wyoming people.
Okay.
And it's bad science.
Mark Armstrong.
What we need to do.
Mark Armstrong's in Centennial, Wyoming. He's running for the seat as senator. Enzi's going to vacate for the U.S. Senate. So, again, a lot of work to do between now and then, which means you're going to have to get organized, get out there and get busy. So I guess getting on this show is the first good step for that. But then when next time you're in Casper, make sure you look us up so we can get you in the studio.
I absolutely will, sir. And thank you for this time.
Sure. Oh, I gotta leave you with this question here. So do we buy Greenland?
The Green New Deal?
No, Greenland.
The Green Deal?
No, Greenland.
Yeah, I know. The deal to buy Greenland.
Yeah.
It's an interesting kind of play on words.
Yeah, I think the president said that with a wink and a smile.
A wink and a smile.
Yeah, I think so.
But you also got to understand AOC isn't winking or smiling.
No, that's the Green New Deal. That's a whole nother thing there. All right,
it is. And it'll destroy the economy. So,
all right, Mark, pleasure.
Thank you again for the time.
Sure, no problem. I'll check our website later on.